What is going on, brothers? It is your boy, Craig James here, bringing you another episode of the Masculine by Design Mancast. Today's episode is on the topic of how to live a slower, more impactful life. These are things that we often don't equate to being related to one another, to actually slow down, enjoy life a little bit, enjoy the process, immerse in the moments as they come to you, and by doing so, actually being more impactful than focusing all the time on go, 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 grind it out, hustle, hustle, hustle. So we're going to talk about how that takes shape and some practical applications on using this wisdom in order to live better lives as men, as leaders, as patriarchs. Before we get into the podcast episode today, I'd like to let you guys know that most of the time when I publish podcast episodes, they are in audio format only. They're on Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, and on down the line in every platform where I publish these podcasts. This particular episode, and hopefully more episodes going forward, are also going to be available in video format. So if you would prefer to see my mug, to see me talk to you face-to-face, as it were, through YouTube, you can also view this podcast there by going to YouTube, search for the Masculine by Design Mancast, search for Masculine by Design, search for Craig James, any of those things, you should be able to find my channel. And you can view the podcast there. So that's just something new that I'm bringing to you. I think that it's just another format that some men prefer to engage with my content in terms of being able to actually see me, seeing my hand gestures, seeing my facial expressions and whatnot. So if that's something you prefer, you can go to YouTube and listen and watch this podcast there. Beyond that, if you have not followed me on Twitter yet, be sure to do so. Go to Twitter, search for Masculine by Design. That is my handle. You can also search for Craig James. That's where I'm most active on social media. I'm trying to build that following up. I've recently surpassed 10,000 followers. Thank you to all of you who follow, who share, who engage with me there. That is one of the best ways that I have in order to get the message of masculine leadership out to the men who need it is through Twitter. Also, on that front, if you have not gone to iTunes yet and searched for the Masculine by Design Mancast and left me a review, please be sure to do that. If you are listening to these podcast episodes, if you enjoy what I'm doing, that is the best way that you can help me reach more men with this message. When those go into iTunes and they search for podcasts like this, it will help them to find this podcast above the others. So again, if you just would take a minute or two of your time, leave me a 5-star review, I would be most appreciative of that. All right, let's get into the topic of discussion today. So again, we are talking about how to live a slower and more impactful life. And so I want to break this down by explaining several benefits that we get when we slow down a little bit in life. So as I mentioned here at the outset of the podcast, what we have a tendency to do as men is to grind like there's no tomorrow. And let's be clear, we don't always know that there is a tomorrow. And so this isn't necessarily a bad thing. You know, we look at the sphere of self-improvement on social media or otherwise. You know, we're often bombarded with these messages of work harder, double down, hustle more, grind it out, continue to grind, never give up. And these are by and large positive messages. These are things that are very helpful to men. They've been helpful to me at times because we do have in modern comfortable times this tendency to converge toward complacency. And so getting a message like that can be quite valuable when we are trending in that direction. However, we need to balance and temper that expectation of grinding and hustling and working day in, day out with a little bit of balance, with balancing that by slowing down, not treating everything we do as it has the utmost sense of urgency, because there are a lot of detrimental impacts that has on our lives, a lot of detrimental impacts that it has on the things that we're working toward, that by slowing things down a little bit, compartmentalizing our thoughts and our actions, we can actually be more effective in the things that we're working toward as men. And so that's what I want to cover today. So first off, when we slow down our lives, when I talk about slowing down, I don't mean the times that you are working, that you are grinding, that you are pursuing your mission. I'm not talking about necessarily slowing down at those times. When you are doing those things, you need to immerse in those activities, immerse in those actions, truly give your all while you are working, whether it's working for a company, working for your own business, some other means of earning a side income, whatever that is. I'm not talking about being slow and to the point of where it's having an impact on your results. What I'm talking about is slowing down, taking time to consider what you're doing, plan, strategize, and compartmentalize so that you can be most impactful in all of your endeavors. So when we slow down our lives, one of the most impactful ways that will benefit us is by allowing us to be fully present in every situation. I don't know about the rest of you men, but as I go through my day, if I'm not intentional about slowing things down and compartmentalizing what I'm doing in the moment, it's really easy for me to go through my day being very ineffective at all the things that I'm doing, or at least much more ineffective than I should be. Because as I'm working, or I'm building something, or I'm leading my team at work, or I'm leading my family, if I'm not immersed in those activities, if I'm not thinking about the outcomes that I desire to gain from all of those interactions and what I'm doing, it's really easy for other thoughts and other activities to start seeping into my mind that don't need to be on the forefront at that point in time. For instance, if you come home from work after a long day at the office and you're spending time with your wife and children, but all you're thinking about is the action items that you have to take care of the next day at work, you are not being an effective leader. You are not being an effective husband. You are not being an effective father in that moment, because your mind is elsewhere. It is divided. And so when we can slow down, compartmentalize what we're doing, and when you leave work for the day, if you have a drive home, use that drive to decompress. Think about the things that maybe you didn't do as well as you'd like, things you did well, things that are still on the back burner that need to be done tomorrow, and make notes if you have to on your phone or on a notepad. But when you come home and you're engaged with your family, that's where your focus needs to be. Worrying about the things that you need to take care of at work the next day is going to do little or nothing to help you get those things done the next day. And your focus is not where it needs to be in that moment on your family. And so when we can slow down and compartmentalize our actions and our thoughts, it helps us to be more effective in everything we're doing. Likewise, when you're at the office and you're in the middle of a meeting and you are working toward developing a strategy or taking care of some new initiative, if your mind is on things that are going on at home, you are not going to be effective there. And again, there's no benefit to you sitting there and stewing over something that might need to be taken care of at home while you're in that meeting or while you're strategizing at work. So you have to be intentional about compartmentalizing your thoughts, slowing down. And this takes, at first, a lot of reminders, self-reminders, because you are going to give into that temptation, and it's almost automatic because we live in such a hectic and hustle-bustle world today. It's almost natural, second nature, that we have 100 different things going through our minds at any given time. And so we have to be intentional about reminding ourselves until it becomes second nature for that not to be the case. We have to remind ourselves, I'm in this meeting. I don't need to worry about what's going on at home. When you walk in the door after a long day at work, give your wife a kiss, hug, slap her on the behind. You'll go talk to your kids. Do things that kind of force you to immerse in that moment and forget the troubles at the office or the things that might be waiting for you the next day. Number 2, when we slow down, when we slow our lives down, we can be more impactful because it allows us to make better decisions. When I am going through my day in the various situations and circumstances that I find myself in, I have a really hard time putting things off. When I see something that needs to be done, I want to attack it, take care of it in the moment. And there's something to be said for that. It's not a bad thing necessarily, but there are many times where we make hasty decisions, we act in the moment, and we don't always have all the information that would allow for us to make an informed decision, a better decision. So by slowing down, not feeling like we're always on the go, we always have to make a decision right then and there. There are times when that is necessary, but most of the decisions that we make in a given day do not require us to make a decision right there on the fly with zero time to deliberate, to gain insights from others, to consult with other people, and actually make a better and informed decision. So when we slow things down, and when we have these action items that we're dealing with in the home or at work, and just stew on it for a little bit, take a day or two to gather inputs, gather information, think deeply on the decisions that we need to make, especially if they are important decisions. That will allow us to make better decisions. We'll be more impactful, and those who are reliant upon us and our leadership will be blessed to a greater degree because we are making better decisions for all of those involved, including ourselves. The next way that we can be more impactful by living a slower, more deliberate life is that slowing down taking time to just immerse in whatever moment we find ourselves in helps to combat mental fatigue and becoming overstressed. There are days where I have trouble getting to sleep at night because I just have so much going on. My head is just filled with all of these different actions and these different ideas and things that I'm kind of struggling with or working through in my mind. But again, just like I've talked about earlier, when we have all of these things just going on and bombarding us at once, we are not effective at compartmentalizing those ideas, at really working through those things. And our minds, our bodies, our spirits, they recognize that. And that really stresses us out. I have certain times where I will notice that I'll get a stress headache just because I have so much that's going on. And usually it's not that I have any more going on in that moment than I did, say, a week ago or a month ago. It's that I'm not being intentional about controlling the way that the time that I'm giving to thinking about those things. And so I'm allowing all of these things to take up space in my mind on a conscious level all day, hour after hour after hour, and that really beats you down mentally. And so again, this hinders your effectiveness at everything you're doing because your mind is not focused on any one thing. Your mind is trying to multitask, which it can do at a subconscious level, but when you're dealing with all these things on the conscious level, it really hinders your ability to be effective. So by slowing down, compartmentalizing the things that we're working on, again, when you're at work, focus on the one thing you need to do in that moment. When that's done and you've taken care of that effectively, move to the next thing. And when you're not working on those things, it's impossible at times to completely push that out of your psyche. However, we need to be intentional about understanding that we can take steps to not worry about those things, not get anxious over the things that are kind of looming overhead and still needing done, things that we're working toward, and trust the process. Trust that by taking a little bit of time away, when you come back, you'll be refreshed, more prepared to make a better decision. We only have so many good decisions that we can make in a given day. I read an article not that long ago. It talked about, if I remember correctly, I think it was Google, but the employees at Google, maybe it's the higher level employees, they intentionally wear cargo shorts and hoodies every day. Now, regardless of the complete lack of style that might represent, the reason they do that is because they are trying to prevent from you wasting good decisions that they need to make on more critical matters on something as trivial as what are they wearing for that day. And so we have to be intentional about that as well. I'm not saying we need to take it to that level. Maybe you do, I don't know. But we do need to be intentional about not wasting the limited power that we have to use our minds effectively each and every day by wasting that bandwidth on things that either don't matter or using it at a high capacity because we have so many things that we're trying to work through in any given moment, and yet none of them are getting done effectively. And there are times in life where I notice when I'm really struggling through something, one of the best ways that I get the insight and the information that I need to really process that through and make a good decision and maybe find a solution to a problem that I'm really, really struggling with is take some time away, stop thinking about it, go for a walk, go do something else. Don't sit and stew on that one thing over and over and over again. A lot of times when you walk away or maybe you sleep on it, your mind in the subconscious realm is able to process through how to attack that problem in a way that you are not simply able to do while you're consciously thinking it through. And so again, slow down, take some time away. Don't put so much pressure on yourself, and you'll find that you actually become more effective as a result. Next, living a slower, more impactful life allows you to enjoy the fruits of your labor. And this is one that I think a lot of you will hopefully resonate with and probably need to hear. We as men live mission-minded lives. We are always working toward the next bigger and better thing. That's not a bad thing necessarily. But where it can become a hindrance to our lives, to the lives of our wives, our children, is when we continue to march forward, to grind, to hustle, but we don't ever take the time to actually enjoy the things that hustle, that our work ethic is actually blessing our lives with. We look at what Solomon has to say about this in Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 18 through 20. He says, "This is what I have observed to be good, that it is appropriate for a person to eat, to drink, and to find satisfaction in their toilsome labor. the labor that they conduct under the sun during the few days of life God has given them, for this is their lot. Moreover, when God gives someone wealth and possessions and the ability to enjoy them, to accept their lot and be happy in their toil, this is a gift of God. They seldom reflect on the days of their life because God keeps them occupied with gladness of heart. So when you have the ability to enjoy the wealth and the possessions that you are able to accumulate because of your hard work, because of the toil that you engage in, the toil under the sun, as Solomon put it, that is a blessing. That is something that Solomon says it occupies you with gladness of heart. And so we need to be mindful of that fact. As we're grinding it out, as we're working hard, slow down and enjoy the things that we are accumulating. Enjoy the things that we are gaining materially, even materialistically. Enjoy those things that we're able to buy because we've worked hard. Enjoy the things that we can go have a nice dinner because we've worked hard and earned some money. These are things that we should enjoy. Have a glass of wine, have a cigar. Do these things that reward yourself and allow you to appreciate the bounty from your hard work. And the Bible says that will give you gladness of heart. How rarely do we do that? How rarely? I mean, we buy things, right? We go out to eat, but we do it in a rushed manner. We might buy a nicer car or a nicer home, but do we really enjoy it? And we buy a nicer home, but then we just work even harder at the office, putting in 60, 70, 80 hours a week in order to continue to keep up with the Joneses. And we're not enjoying the fruits of our labor. Buy a new, nicer house. There's nothing wrong with that. Buy a new, nicer car. Nothing wrong with that. Buy yourself a new guitar if you play guitar. Whatever it is that is your shtick. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing sinful. There's nothing evil about buying nice things for yourself. Enjoy them. But if you're going to buy them, enjoy them. Enjoy them. Use them well. Allow them to bring some joy, some solace to your life. Don't just buy things for the sake of buying them, saying, look what I have. That is a status symbol. That is materialism gone wrong. And that will not bring gladness to your life or contentment. That will only sow discontentment because there's always something nicer and better that someone else has. And so if you're only getting it to one up the neighbors or one up your friends, that will not bring contentment to your life. That is the wrong way to go about it. But there's nothing wrong with slowing down, buying some nice things for yourself and enjoying them. So take some time for yourself, do something nice for yourself, enjoy the fruits of your labor. Finally, the last way that we can live a slower and more impactful life is that it makes us more effective at everything we do. And I think I've driven that point home already in multiple ways. But again, we need to understand that slowing down, making informed decisions, enjoying the fruits of our labor, all of these things make us more effective. They allow us to live a more stress-free life. They allow us to live lives that are pleasurable. They give us contentment. And when we live this way, we have a positive countenance. Everything we do is positively impacted. Everything. Our wives, our children, they have more security, less anxiety because they are being led by a man who is able to rightly compartmentalize the things that he's working toward and the things that he's doing in a way that is more effective for him and in a way that is more beneficial to their family, to each of them as individuals. And they have a man who is leading them, who is able to do so from a position of competence, of confidence, who is in control of his emotions, who isn't making brash decisions that could be very risky and cause problems for them and in the short term and in the long term. So by slowing down, being deliberate with our actions, focusing and immersing in the moment, enjoying the fruits of our labor, we are able to live a better life as a man. And all those who we engage with, all those who rely on our leadership are made more effective as a result. It is an example that they can look to and one that will bless them if they follow suit. So that's the message that I have for you today, man. Take some time to slow down, live a more impactful life. I get it. We have a lot of pressures as men. A lot of people rely on us to provide, to protect, to lead them. And it's very easy to consume our minds with those things. It's very easy to think that the busier and busier and busier we are, the more effective we are at doing those things. But oftentimes that's not the case. And that's why I wanted to record this podcast for you today, to remind you that it's okay to take some time to enjoy life. It's okay to be a little bit slower and more deliberate with your thinking and with your decision making. It's okay. Now, if you're procrastinating, and you never get around to making that decision or taking that right and necessary action, that's a problem. But if you're being deliberate, if you're gathering information, if you are using that time to mitigate risk and really make sure that you are confident with the decision that you're making, there's nothing wrong with that at all. In fact, I think that that is the path forward that all of us should be following. So that's all I have for the podcast today, men. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for sharing. Again, if you've gotten value out of this podcast, please do me a solid. Go to iTunes, search for the Masculine by Design Mancast. Leave this podcast a 5-star review. There's nothing you can do that will have a greater impact on what I'm doing right now and allowing me to spread this message. And that's the best way you can pay it forward for whatever value you are getting out of this podcast or the other episodes that I have produced or will be producing in the future. It would only take a minute or two of your time, and I would be most appreciative of you for doing that. Again, you can give me a follow on Twitter. Go to Twitter, search for my handle, Masculine Design. I'd love to engage with you there. And finally, if you do not have a tribe of men who are committed to living lives of excellence, committed to working toward becoming better and what it means to be a man in every aspect of what that means, you want to consider joining the tribe that I have created with my partner, Hunter Drew, inside of the Fraternity of Excellence. You can check that out by going to fraternityofexcellence.com. And what that is a closed community of men. This is only men. This is not like the Boy Scouts that was turned scouts. There will never be women that infiltrate our community. We have a vetting process to make sure that never happens. This is a closed group for masculine-minded men who understand the power that is unleashed when men come together with other men. Because the only way that we can be fully actualized as men is to learn from other men. You know, I have skills and experiences that are of benefit to other men who don't have those same skills and experiences. And some of those men have skills and experiences that are immensely beneficial to me because I don't have them. And that is what happens when men come together with other men, specifically other men who truly want to see us succeed. And that is what we have inside of the community that is the Fraternity of Excellence. So if you don't have that, for roughly $50 a month, you can have that for yourself. You can come check that out, see if it's for you. There's no hard feelings if you decide to check that out and you cancel your membership. We have about a 90% retention rate. So most men who join stick around past 1 month because they do see the value that it has for them. But not all, that doesn't fit every man. You know, the other 10%, they come in, maybe they don't have time to commit to what we're doing in there, or they just, you know, for whatever reason, it doesn't work out for them. They just send a quick message and I cancel their account. No hard feelings, no questions asked. So if that is something that you think could benefit you, you definitely want to check that out. I hope to see you inside. Again, just go to fraternityofexcellence.com. You can sign up there. We have monthly membership options, quarterly, and also yearly. All right. Well, that will do it for the podcast today, men. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you in advance for sharing. Slow your life down. Live a more impactful life. I know it sounds counterintuitive with the messages that we are given today by many gurus and self-improvement enthusiasts. But I promise you, when you take time to slow down, be more deliberate with your actions, immerse in the moment, every moment of every day, you will be a more impactful man as a result. Until next time, this is Craig James from masculinebydesign.com. I'm out.